Now, throughout the production of the sequel trilogy, we have seen that Mark Hamill raised a lot of concerns about the use of his character Luke Skywalker by the hands of Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, and others out there like Chris Terrio. And you know what? Mark Hamill, at the end of the day, was really right when he was talking about The Last Jedi. This is a guy that, by the way, went really back and forth with his claims and statements about how he felt about Luke because Disney kept on making Mark Hamill retract his statements back when the sequel trilogy was still in development. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, when it comes down to Mark Hamill, this is somebody that likes to stay in touch with the fans, build up the hype, and really fill them in on exactly what's happening between himself, John, and Dave. As you all know, John and Dave are world building as we speak. They are taking a lot of aspects from Star Wars Legends and throwing it into live action form. Now, with the latest episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, Chapter 22, a lot of fans have been expressing different, I guess you could say, opinions based on the overall pacing of that episode, what they threw into this chapter, and I'm sure that you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot of differing opinions on Chapter 22, especially out of all the other episodes that came before it. Now that brings us to what Mark Hamill had to say about Kathleen Kennedy. He was able to actually say something that really is quite surprising, and something that really kind of shows the truth of Kathleen Kennedy's nature, her true agenda with, of course, Star Wars, and exactly why she really hates the character of Luke Skywalker from what it seems. It seems that she's got a real issue with George Lucas's characters, especially legacy characters. So, on top of this, with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni beginning to work on several new Star Wars projects, however, in a recent interview that Mark Hamill got involved in, he went on to criticize Kathleen Kennedy and those that surround her vision at Lucasfilm. Hamill stated the following: "Well, I can say one thing here about the struggle of Luke Skywalker. We all actually had creative differences, believe it or not, with Kathy Kennedy when we were creating Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Kathy was completely against the idea of dragging Luke into the story, and she felt it was a disgrace at the time to shift our focus away from characters like Grogu, Din Djarin, and Bo-Katan. I never understood the arguments and the creative struggle, but John and Dave eventually settled things out with some heavy convincing to Disney. It was a tough battle, a rough battle, just to get Luke into the story because of Kathy. She has this vision, you know, this idea to only focus on non-legacy characters, to move on from George Lucas's creations. Which I can understand if you want new characters, but I remember John and Dave just feeling so offended when Kennedy was challenging Luke's appearance." Now let me pause here for 1 second. Basically what Mark Hamill here is confirming is that we almost did not get Luke in Mando Season 2, even after it was done filming, and even also before it was, you know, even written in the script. This is just mind-boggling to me, because this goes to show you that she did not want any kind of contrast, and I believe that this is exactly what was happening. Kathleen Kennedy wanted no contrast between the Luke that she gave us in the sequels, and the Luke that Jon Favreau was going to give us in The Mandalorian. Now, say what you will about, you know, the character of Luke. I know some fans out there feel that the character's mystery should remain, where you use him sparingly and don't overuse him too much, which I can understand that too. I really get that. I do. But at the end of the day, too, you gotta remember that Luke, or just the Skywalkers in general, are really like the characters that really kick-started this franchise, and that's what a lot of people think about when they think about Star Wars. You usually think about those classic characters, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that we always have to have shows or TV shows or movies, whatever, showcasing them, but you always have to at least somehow hang on to them. And Kathleen Kennedy wanted nothing to do with Luke's appearance or a cameo of him in Season 2 of Mandalorian. Moving on. Now, Mark Hamill, alright, the reasoning why he's unveiling all of this most likely is because he's not really all that tied up with Star Wars anymore. Right now, what he's mainly doing, for the most part, is he helps out with the creation of Luke through deepfake and de-aging technology and different ILM technology techniques that will be entering into the film industry in the coming years, and really, just kind of teaching others how to do, his own mannerisms and stuff like that. On top of this, though, at first he says, "We wanted Luke to fight without his hood over his head against those droids in the hallway. Kennedy practically forced us to hide who the Jedi really was to build up suspense, which I was fine with. But there was a time where she did not want Luke's face to be shown at all, and didn't want him to even have any dialogue. This bothered me, John, and Dave. This brought me back to how I felt with my role in Force Awakens, when I was told specifically by Kennedy and JJ, we aren't giving you any lines for the film. Fans are going to have to wait 2 whole years for that build-up for reasons. Once we have shot Luke's scenes, though, Kathleen Kennedy was having second thoughts and even argued over if we should delete Luke from the story and or shoot a different ending to that episode. We were all appalled over Kennedy's words about attempting to delete Luke, and I'm so glad that we got to keep him in after much convincing to Disney. Now again, the fact that Kennedy was going out of her way to really prevent Luke Skywalker from appearing in Mando Season 2, this is a very big telltale of exactly what her true agenda really is. It's really all about not having anything to do with George Lucas's creations. I mean, that's the truth of it all. She herself even admitted to this a couple of days ago with The Acolyte, that The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew are shows all about shifting away and snubbing and ignoring George Lucas's vision. That's basically what she said. To be exact, she said it's all about disconnecting that burden from what fans are to expect from George Lucas's outlook on Star Wars. And that really is worrisome when it comes to these 2 upcoming projects. She herself said that these 2 projects are going to be like writing something on a blank canvas, completely disregarding the aesthetics of Star Wars. Everything that you know about Star Wars is going to be different visually and in, of course, design-wise. So that's also another thing that's raising a lot of concern among fans. But what Mark Hamill said here is interesting. Very interesting. Because the fact that they, or Kathleen Kennedy, did not want Luke to have his face shown, nor did she want him to have any kind of dialogue. It just goes to show you that she did not want Luke to be that significant in the Mando Season 2 episode. And Peyton Reed, by the way, the director of that episode and how he directed how Luke was going to be used, he did a phenomenal job in the long run, in the finalized version. He did an excellent job. It was a perfect balance between hiding his face and showing his face and having him speak. It was the perfect way to do it, and it worked out amazingly. So, anyways, I'm very much intrigued to see exactly how John and Dave handle Luke's appearance in the upcoming, of course, Mando Season 4, which, by the way, is going to be very Luke Skywalker heavy. John and Dave wanted to take a break from Luke for a bit to kind of keep that mystery in tone. And then we're going to have more of Luke in the Ahsoka Tano series, especially in Season 2. So, with that being said, guys, fill me in below in the comments what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.